What is going on, everybody? How's it going? I am so excited for tonight. I've been looking forward to this all day long. I'm going to go ahead and switch right over to our collab camera, our collab view here. We got a special guest. I'm going to go and see if we can pull him in right now before we get started. And we'll kind of say hi and check out who's in the chat, see what's going on. Give me just a sec here. We got you? We got you?
You guys can hear me, yes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Well, as you know, last time, guys, we had some pretty big friggin' technical difficulties. So if you want to let us know how our volume is, let us know if you can hear our special guest, whom I will introduce here. Let me know if you can know me. I'm going to try not to scream and yell into my microphone like I usually do, but welcome in, my friend. How's it going?
It's going very well, Kobe. Thank you for inviting me, man. I'm excited about today. I don't have
Absolutely.
a cool background like you do. Mine's just a stupid green screen because I can't figure out how to get it going, but it's all
Hey, it's
right.
the thought that counts. You get points for trying. Chat, if you can confirm chat, he still gets credit. Absolutely. Well, let's see. We already got 8 people in here. Welcome in, guys. We got Mr. Beans, our esteemed member, Mr. Beans, our super esteemed Jason in here, our channel super fan. Princess Zelda, we've been waiting for you to come back forever. If you notice, the Hero of Time is in here. Mr. Hero of Time and Zelda, we've been waiting for you guys to get together forever. Uh, but man, we got some exciting stuff. Without further ado, I'm going to let our special guest, Chris, introduce himself, otherwise known as BigSweetC. And I have to ask where that name comes from as well. Let's ask. I need to ask that first of all.
Sure, sure. So, okay. Hello, chat. My name is Christopher, whichever you prefer. But I do go by Big Sweet C here on YouTube. Random story about how I got my name, actually. I'm not a huge WWE fan anymore, but I was back in the day when I was in like high school. Um, and there was a wrestler by the name of Big Papa Pump. He also went by Sweetness. And so when I started my YouTube channel, he was my favorite wrestler, hence the name Big Sweet C.
Okay, your wrestler. I never anticipated the reason would be it's your wrestler name.
Yeah, absolutely. That's crazy fact. In high school, we were such wrestling fans. We actually started. I went to a Saline High School in Saline, Michigan. We started the Saline Championship Wrestling, and that was my moniker, Big Sweet C.
No way. Okay, okay. That makes it a little more epic, actually. We got a real life wrestler in here. He's also a Nintendo expert. I'm just gonna.
Well, the crazy thing is when I first started streaming, a lot of people thought that I had an OnlyFans because of it. That's not what it came from.
Big Sweet C is gonna drop his OnlyFans link in the chat right now, so keep an eye out for that. Well, I'm super pumped that you're here, my friend, because we've been chatting back and forth on each other's channels for a little bit, and this is the first time we're like talking in person, which is really exciting for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we've talked over
Again,
chat,
very
but
excited to be here, man.
super stoked to have you. And chat, I'm still looking. I usually have some pretty awesome people with my audio checkers, but let us know. I assume since nobody's saying anything that we're both pretty audible, pretty good to hear. But chat, let us know if one of us is too loud, too quiet, shouldn't be here at all. Let us know what's going on there. But Chris, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and your channel, what you do on YouTube, where can we find you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so you can again, you can find me here on YouTube at Big Sweet C. I started my channel in 2015 on my birthday, coincidentally. Truth is, I had no idea that my first upload was on my birthday. It just happened to be that day.
Really?
But I
Wait, when did
started
you say
in
that was? I'm sorry.
2015.
15. Okay.
2015, January 24th. I'm gonna be really old here in a few days.
Dang. Okay. Well, happy
Um,
birthday.
Oh, thanks, man. But yeah, so
Perfect
I
timing.
started in 2015. Technically, I had a YouTube channel before that. I did a bunch of like shorts and stuff when I was going to Michigan State that I would upload to YouTube.
Because you have a film
But
background, right?
Yeah, right. So when I was going to Michigan State, I studied screenwriting. Technically, it was an English degree with a specialization in screenwriting and creative. creative arts. Um, but like I've always been a big video game fan. I bought technically my parents bought it for us. My brother and I. We got the first Nintendo in I think '87 was when we originally picked it up. And I've basically been a Nintendo fan my whole life since then. In some way, shape, or form, my brother and I have owned every console. Now, I never got to play technically the Nintendo DS. My brother did own one, but I was technically living in East Lansing and he was living in Saline still, so I never got to play that one.
Okay.
But
Okay.
we've been Nintendo fans our whole life. I started my channel as a Let's Player. With some of my first ones were the Dark Souls franchise. I started with Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. Most of my big stuff is Earthlock Festival of Magic, kind of a throwback Japanese RPG that came out.
Wait, Earthlock?
Maybe 8 years ago or so.
Because Earthlock 2 is on the Switch as well, right? And I see it go on sale all the time. It's literally been on my wish list for like 3 years. I think I played all the way through the demo. Okay, I need to ask you about this offline then, because I've been wondering about that series.
Now, I've never played the second one. Technically, there's two versions of the first one. There was Earthlock, and then there was Earthlock Festival of Magic. Difference being, Festival of Magic, I think, had a couple extra levels in it, but they're almost exactly the same.
Oh, it's like a deluxe edition.
Right.
Okay.
But it was free one day on Games with Gold, way before they had Game Pass. My brother picked it up and he was like, "Hey, if you like JRPGs, this is gonna be a good one." And so because it was free, I used to do once a month. I would pick one of the free Xbox games and I would play that as a Let's Play. And I would say, "Hey, I think this is worth picking up. I think this is a good one to get," and all this stuff.
Okay.
And then she was probably 2017, maybe 2 years after, maybe 2018. A friend of mine kind of convinced me to jump into the live streaming thing. He said, he brought up a good point. He said that, most people don't watch Let's Plays anymore. They're more into the interactive part of a live stream.
Sure.
And so I tried that. And I've been doing the live stream stuff ever since. So most of my channel is live streams. I do upload a few videos here and there. I'm a big NFL fan. So I just put out my NFL playoff predictions.
Okay, and let's cause some controversy right now in the chat. Who's your team so we can get some heat in here?
All right, so growing up in Michigan, I'm a Detroit Lions fan.
Lions, everybody, Lions, attack.
We've been booty cheeks most of my life.
I'm not way into sports. The furthest I got into sports was my dad bringing me to college ball, and I would be like giving the binoculars, and I'd watch the cheerleaders, and that's about as far as I got into sports. Yeah.
Sounds about right. I mean, for a long time, the cheerleaders were the only thing worth watching.
Those hot dogs are pretty good too at the games.
But it was great because I was a Lions fan. They're terrible. I went to Michigan State, so I was a Spartan fan. They're terrible. So I just really like the bad teams.
Hey, it's what we do. And me and you are both Final Fantasy VIII fans, and everyone calls that the bad Final Fantasy, but they're wrong. Right? They're awesome. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. No, I totally think so as well. I think that's one of probably the most underrated one. That or 13.
Absolutely. And check it out. I won't spend time on it, but I got all my triple triad cards getting made right here. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing, you guys.
Those are going to be great, man. Oh, shoot. They look awesome already.
I appreciate that. And we got Miko's Musings in the chat. What's up, Miko? Jason saying that he's got Xbox Game Pass. And what you were saying there is a perfect transition to, guys, go subscribe. Go subscribe to BigSweetC, otherwise known as Chris. Go to his channel right now while you're listening and subscribe, because he is right now, correct me if I'm wrong, streaming Final Fantasy VIII, Sekiro, right?
Yeah.
What else you got going on right now?
So I stream Wednesdays through Saturdays. I try to start around 3 p.m., but it really depends on when my son decides to take his nap. So it can start anywhere between like 3 and 4. But Wednesdays we're playing Octopath Traveler 2. Thursdays we're playing Final Fantasy 8. Fridays we're playing Sekiro, and then on Saturdays we're playing Borderlands right now.
Heck yeah! So you got a lot. You're juggling a lot of games.
Yeah, I consider myself. I guess you would consider me like a variety streamer. But I tend to stick in the same genre of stuff.
Okay.
RPGs as a whole.
And
Every
Mr.
once in a
Beans is
while, I'll
calling you
throw
out about, are you playing Tsushima at all?
Go, yeah. No, okay. So I know the second one's coming out. I actually do own the first one. I have yet to play it though.
Oh man,
I just haven't gotten around to getting to it. My backlog
the day you
is
start streaming
unbelievably
that.
big right now.
Well, I did another. I've started calling them ImagineCast now, guys. I don't think anyone in the chat knows this either. We did Raziel. We had Raziel on as a guest last time. We talked about our top 10 favorite games. Tsushima was in. I think it was my number 2 of all time. So like when you start streaming that, we're gonna raid. We're gonna raid your streams for sure.
I mean, you've already convinced me to play. The next game on the list is Silent Hill Remastered 2. So Silent Hill 2 Remastered. So
chat really experienced that one with me recently, so I'm sure they're all on board with it as well.
Yeah, shoot, man. I'm not a huge horror guy. Like I've never been into the horror games outside.
The funny
of
thing is, I'm not
the
either.
Evil ones.
Yeah.
But as of recently, a lot of the chat members they like to watch my reactions because I'm a scared little girl. I'm not gonna lie. You know. Even at
Oh, I can't wait to
I
see
can't
that one,
wait.
man. You're gonna stream Silent Hill, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna keep a sharp eye. Everyone go subscribe because you saw me play through it. Now we gotta watch Chris play through it. It's gonna be great.
I've seen some pictures of it and I'm just like, oh my god, what am I getting myself into?
Dude, it's uncomfortable to play. Seriously. Oh man. Oh, so hey, what's up, John? They say that our volumes are good, but you're a tad quiet. I've got you maxed out on my end for some reason. I don't know if you can jump it up a little bit on your end, but if not, we should be still okay. You just might have to shout a little bit.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I'll let's see here if I can move it up a little closer.
Not a problem. Not a problem. And while he looks into that, I don't think we have any announcements, guys. We just got to dive right in because we have a lot to talk about. And I don't know if you guys have been following the news today, but I mean, I timed this perfectly. I'm just humble brag. This was perfect because me and Chris were talking last week, like, oh, when should we do this? And I thought, I said to him, I want to do this as close to the reveal as I can, but who knows when that's going to be. Let's go with Monday. And wouldn't you know, this morning, guys, Nate the Hate, who's a huge Nintendo YouTuber and a very reliable source, dropped a bombshell on us this morning. He's like, reveals this Thursday, guys. Period.
Yeah, the 16th.
Did you see that?
Right? Yeah, I did see that.
I was like, dude,
there's no way.
Meant to be. I was like, this is literally the perfect time to have this conversation. Now, I don't know where you were, Chris, back when the Switch started coming out, and I say started coming out because there was this phase when the hype train was at full throttle and we started to get the leaks coming in, and it was called the NX, right? And we had this 3D printed, what we know now was a 3D printed scam, and it was like this oval shaped screen with 2 joysticks coming through the screen. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. And everyone was like, this is the NX, this looks horrible, blah blah blah. We're there again. Like, here we are 8 years later, we're in that same phase right now.
Yeah, and I mean, and you're still getting now. The one that I saw, Genki, I think is how you pronounce the
yeah, the Genki third-party accessories creator, right?
Accessories, yeah. They had their little design. It looks a little bit more believable than it did last time. Although, I mean, I had no idea what the Nintendo Switch was going to be when it first came out, when they were leaking it. So I couldn't really say, oh, this is definitely not it.
Right.
But this one, in my opinion, I think looks a little bit more legit than the one did when the first Nintendo came out.
Absolutely agree. And real quick question for you, just in general, hype level, where are you at? 1 to 10. 10 being like, yeah, I can't sleep at night. 1 being I could care less.
Okay. In all realities, Nintendo is still probably my favorite console, simply because they have the franchises that you can't get anywhere else unless you emulate them.
Yeah.
So I'd be at like a 9. I'm not
okay.
quite like that. I can't wait because I'm still playing games on my Nintendo Switch 1 that I haven't gotten to yet. So
yeah, you said your backlog's pretty heavy, right?
It's ridiculous right now. Of course, I decided to buy a bunch of games over the Christmas break, which is making it even worse.
Yeah, all those Christmas sales are horrible, man. They're awful.
You can't beat some of them sometimes, you know?
Yeah. A 9 though, so you're like the conductor of the hype train at this point. That's
Oh yeah. I'm ready to go, you know. I'm at every stop going, get on, because it's coming, get on.
and the train's on fire. Yeah, man, I would have to agree. So before I'll throw my number out there, but you kind of gave us your history with Nintendo, which is perfect. My history with Nintendo, and you were there at the ground level. You said 1987, like right there early.
Yeah.
You had the NES.
Yep.
We were too poor to have an NES. I had plenty of friends that I used for their NES. I was like, oh, you're my friend. You have Zelda. And then we jumped from there to the Super Nintendo. We had a Super, and by that point, we were old enough. Me and all my siblings saved up and got our Super Nintendo, and that was like the greatest day of my life. I remember them coming home from Toys R Us with my grandma, who had to drive my oldest brother there, and it came with Mario All Stars and Mario World. And
you got the bundle one. You got the
yeah,
one,
we were high rollers with the money we worked all summer for that. And then my uncle took it from us and played it all day. But
yeah, that was nice.
But from there, so Final Fantasy is what made me a gamer. We've kind of talked about this before, but Final Fantasy 2, otherwise known as 4, and 3, otherwise known as 6, really put their hooks in me, and it was because of that I was a Nintendo fanboy, and then that junction came, right? That famous fork in the road when FF7 was on the horizon and Nintendo was like, it's got to be on cartridge, and Sony's like, no, it's got to be on disc, right?
Got to be on disc, yeah.
We all know the story, and they went the other way. And I followed.
I'm not going to lie. I jumped ship for a little bit there as well. You know, because again, Final Fantasy is the franchise that got me going as well.
Yeah.
When I heard that it was coming out for the PlayStation, I saved up and went out and bought a PlayStation.
Yep, and as I had to. I mean, I had to follow FF7, and, we're poor kids. We can't have everything. So I definitely played the 64 at friends' houses, definitely played a little GameCube, but I, from the PS1 on, was a PlayStation kid. With the exception of Nintendo handhelds. I had a Game Boy Brick, Pocket, Color, Advance, DS. I had every Nintendo handheld all the way up to the Switch. So that was my common thread, but believe it or not, I jumped from the Super to the Wii U. That was my Nintendo gap I had to jump.
There's quite the gap there, too. You got the GameCube, you got the, dang it.
Let's see, I missed the whole Wii.
The standard Wii, shoot.
So when the Wii U was busy tanking, I was like, I love this thing, because I had the whole Wii backlog that I had never played either. So I was the rare person that the Wii U was amazing for, but, me and 17 other people loved it, so. Which brings me right back to your last point, which I want to kind of segue into, is that this time around, with the Switch 2 on the horizon now, we're in a very different spot than we were with the Switch 1, because they were coming off, outside of the Virtual Boy, right? Their biggest commercial failure of all time, the Wii U.
Right.
I loved it personally, but they were like, Iwata had just passed away. It was a very rough time for Nintendo, and they had, backpedaled really quick on the Wii U. It had tanked. And all of a sudden, there's these rumors of this new system that's going to be hybrid. And this was a foreign concept back then, of course. Like the whole, bring a home console power level on the go. Like this was not a thing. So when that first trailer dropped October of 2016, it was like hype was through the roof. It was like we'd never seen something like that before.
I absolutely loved that commercial, too, because you've got this kid. He's on his way to school, but you don't know he's like getting ready. He's playing it on the TV at home, and he just lifts it up, and he's playing it on the bus. And
we see the Breath of the Wild going.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was an absolutely beautiful reveal, I think.
Absolutely, and that moment where he's like playing Breath of the Wild, and his dog starts barking, and he stands up, and then he switches, right? He pulls it out of the dock, and Breath of the Wild jumps to the screen, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. We had Imagine Dragons song going, like, hey, Metal's in the chat, what's up?
That it was it was an Imagine Dragons song.
It was.
Dang, I didn't even think of that.
That alone kind of dates it a little bit. Let's see. Oh, Corny Puddle, what's up? I don't think I've seen you in here. What's going on? Super Mario 3 was the first game I ever beat. I used to wake up for school early to play Smash 64. Oh, classic. Love Nintendo. Excited for Switch. Everybody in the chat put your hype levels in. 1 through 10. 10 being the highest. 1 being you don't care. If so, why are you here, man? Get hype. But
they're not very hyped right now. They're hoping that we can build the hype for them.
That's why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're here. Oh, we also need it. We didn't do our snack check. Everybody put in the chat what your snacks are tonight. We usually do a snack check if we can. I had a friend give me a big old fresh bag of jerky, so that's what I'm working with tonight.
I got my Coffee going right now. This is like
You even got your own
coffee
logo
to
on
me.
it.
Yeah. So I do have. It used to be called Teespring, I think it was called. I think it's just Spring now.
Okay,
But
okay.
I have like you can buy hoodies, you can buy coffee mugs. I have a hat now that you can buy. So
Guys,
yeah,
get
you can
on
buy
this.
merchandise if you want.
Can they find links to your merch store on your channel then?
Absolutely.
Get on it, guys. We've been working on, so we call every member of the channel, we call esteemed, and we're like, we got to make esteemed hoodies.
Yeah.
Our,
Dude, well, I'll tell you what I love is the fact that you actually have channel members, and so they get the little Mario icon in front of their name and everything.
yeah, they
That's
evolved
great,
from
dude.
Jumpman is our first month all the way up to the Mario movie. I think there's like 10 levels or something, so it's pretty exciting.
Okay.
And speaking of
That's
our
very cool.
fans, Superfan Jason's a 10 out of 10 hype, he says. Also, I was saying I did saw BigSweetC doing Borderlands 1 on the Xbox when he was streaming it. Nice!
Yeah, that's
Which is
great.
exactly what
Thank
you just said. Nice.
you.
That is freaking awesome. So we are in a weird spot now because I mean the question everybody's asking, or at least I am, is unlike the Wii U to the Switch, we all kind of know now. I mean, 99.9% sure that we're just getting another Switch, which is amazing. I mean, we all wanted like the Switch Pro, and that didn't happen. That's exactly
Sure.
what this seems to be, and I don't have any reason to believe otherwise. So my question for you is, because this is the question I've been pondering, how does Nintendo? They're in kind of a catch-22 here because with the Wii U, I know one of the big reasons that it seemed to fail was because of brand confusion, right? It's like, oh, this gamepad is an accessory for my Wii. The Wii U is like a peripheral, or nobody knew it was the next gen
Right.
console. So
Hmm.
going to the Switch to the Switch 2, how in the world do you avoid? Hey, Corny Puddle, welcome to the party. What's up? Thank you so much. How do you avoid making the same mistake with brand, right? Because if you called it the Switch Pro or the Super Switch or whatever, you got the same problem. But at the same time, if you abandon the Switch brand entirely, that's another risk too, because you're leaving that whole fan base
Sure.
behind. So like, how do you approach this? How do you even approach this if you're Nintendo?
I mean that's a great question. You know that because you're absolutely right. You know, you had the Wii and then you had the Wii U, and for whatever reason, people were just not convinced that it was a new system, right?
Right.
Uh, but in this case, I think it's a little different because of one, the leaks coming out. It looks if it comes out to be like what the leaks have looked like, I
Yeah.
think it'll look enough like a Nintendo Switch that people will just assume that it's a Nintendo Switch.
Right. Like, is it
I
going to just
also
bleed into the Nintendo Switch family that they always do? You have the Switch Lite, or is that what it's called? Switch Lite.
right,
You have
yeah,
the.
you've got the Switch OLED, and then I think you're right. I think it's Switch Lite. I think
And
that's what it is.
is it gonna risk just sliding like, oh, it's another member of the Switch family? It's like a more like the waters are murky, right?
Right. And that's that's a risk that they're going to have to take. But I think you're on the right track. This is going to be. I think what they've decided is it took so long in between getting the Switch and the Switch Pro out that they're just going to make what was going to be the Switch Pro, the Nintendo Switch 2. And so they decided not to do this Switch Pro. They put a little bit more emphasis into it, and now they're making the Nintendo Switch 2,
So
which
do you think we're looking at a pivot here? Like this is the Switch Pro converted into the Switch 2?
I'm like 100%. I'll say 99% because I mean I don't work for Nintendo, so I can't I can't really
Darn it,
tell you.
we'd have a man on the inside
Yeah.
if you did.
But if I was a betting man, I would say that this became the Switch 2, but originally started as the Switch Pro. Yes.
I think that's a safe bet because it was about
Mm.
what maybe 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago when the Switch Pro conversation
Mhm.
was going on, right? Because
Right.
COVID
Right.
kind of
When
screwed
they.
that up, is what they're saying. But who knows?
Mhm. Now, I also think that with the success of the Nintendo Switch, so I just saw it maybe a week ago. It just passed the PS2, so now it is the
I
second all-time
know.
selling console
Behind
of
the
all time.
DS, my friend, you got to get on the
Behind the
DS.
DS.
That library is insane.
And so, I think they want to kind of ride that wave a little bit. So I don't think they want to stray too much from the path they're on, right? They don't want to.
Yeah, you
They don't
can't
want to get
abandon
too
that user
restrictive.
base like that.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And the fact that they've already announced that it's going to be backwards compatible with your Nintendo Switch games, I think gives it
which
a
is
leg
G.
up
Oh,
to.
the relief, the sigh of relief I gave when they announced that on a random Tuesday tweet. It was like, what are you doing? But I was like, okay, like, because my kids have my launch day Switch. I sold it to them. They had to work for it. I bought an
Sure.
OLED, and I was so relieved to be like, okay, I'm just upgrading my OLED. I'm not
Mm.
buying a new ecosystem. I was very grateful for
Right,
that.
right.
And now my oldest daughter's determined to buy my OLED for me. So now the younger kids get the. We're just passing it down one generation each time.
Sure, sure, yeah, yeah. They're like clothes, Like
Yeah, exactly. Hand me down
yeah,
Switch. Hand me down Joy Cons. They all have drift. Sorry.
yeah.
But the interesting thing now is going back to this idea of like the water's a lot more murky now than it was before. I mean, tablet gaming is not weird anymore. I mean, you have the Steam Deck, you have the ROG
Uh-huh.
Ally, you've got like
Hmm.
this whole Switch knockoff thing. And I don't mean that in the bad way. Like a lot of these are really nice systems, but that
Hmm.
is not special anymore.
Right,
And if
it's
we're just
not.
getting a Switch too, like how are they going to make this special, right?
Well, I think a couple of things could really help out. One, you have these emulators that, in my opinion, I think are, if not the top reason to have Nintendo Switch Online, it's one of the top three easy.
Yeah.
And so now you can have
And they have
now you
confirmed
can
Switch
add.
on NSOs carrying right over.
Right. And so now you can add different ones too. You can add the GameCube emulator. You can add the Nintendo 3DS emulator on there to give people a reason to upgrade to the Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so and the games, like, the one thing that Nintendo has over everybody else, outside of the fact that, so random fact, just a little side note.
I'm going to turn my light
I
on too
read
real quick. It
some.
is dark in my room.
I read somewhere that
There we go.
Nintendo could actually like not make profit for like 50 years and still have money as a company because of the way that they've run their business model. So they
It
can
makes
kind
sense.
of.
They do not like losing money on hardware. That's why they
Absolutely.
never have price drops ever. Unlike Sony, that's like, here's a game that came out 3 weeks ago. It's now $20. Like
Right, yeah.
they just don't do
Uh,
that.
and so because of that, and because of I will always buy a Nintendo because it's the only place I'm ever going to get a Zelda game. I'll always buy a Nintendo
100%.
because it's the only place I'll get a Mario Kart or a Smash Brothers. Like this, these are the
Oh,
only
man.
places I can get it. So I will always buy whatever they release.
Okay, you're tapping into a gold mine right now because you're right. I agree. The answer to that question to me, how do you make Switch 2 special when it's the hardware side just can't be. We know there's going to be a new gimmick or two or whatever, but it just can't recapture what the Switch 1 did as far as
Right.
new ingenuity goes. So the answer, I believe, is what Nintendo does best, the games. So I'm going to put a pin in that because that's a whole thing. I got a few quick rapid fire questions for you before we open Pandora's box here. And by the way, esteemed super fan, our other super fan, Craig Stratton, has entered the chat. What's up, my friend? Domo domo konnichiwa. Genki desu ka? Jason, do you know if the Switch 2 is going to be good? That's what we're going to find out. By the end of this conversation, we'll know. We'll know.
Yeah.
Being an old man lately, not trying to stay up late enough. Well, I appreciate you joining us, Craig. I saw a few other 10 out of 10 hype levels up here, by the way, too, that I failed to call out. Hero of Time, 3DS backwards compatibility. When exactly?
Mm-hmm.
I thought there was one other chat I wanted to call out that kind of caught my attention. I lost it. I'll go back. But here's my question for you before we get into the deep stuff. Is it going to be called Switch 2? I mean, that's That's like the most basic thing you can do.
You're right, and judging by the Wii to the Wii U,
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that it's the best idea.
Right, we're in
To be
that
honest with
arena
you,
again.
right, I think it would be a great throwback if you named it the Super Nintendo Switch.
Oh, how
You know,
I would
'cause
love that so much.
then you bring in that nostalgia of the people, because again, the Nintendo did fairly well. I mean, it beat Sega because Sega was a few years after it. But I mean, it was the Super Nintendo, and I still have conversations with people that say the Super Nintendo is by far the best system of all time. It had
Yeah.
such a great library, and it was just like an innovator in the way that it made the Nintendo into basically the system to own.
Right.
And so I think it would be a great throwback to it if you were to call it the Super Nintendo Switch.
Oh, I would love that so much, but you're right. Like all of us nostalgic people that follow the news, we know exactly what we're looking at when we go to the store. That would hit home. But then again,
Absolutely.
you're right. It's like now we're back to the Wii U situation where Super Switch
Right.
is like the Switch with more memory or something like.
Yeah.
But now then we could go back to their commercials and say now you're playing with power, right? They got to bring the Power Glove back too while we're talking about
Oh
that.
man. Oh shoot. I mean, I think it's only a matter of time, and I know we'll get into speculation later, but this, the leak where it says that you can use like the controller as like a mouse pad.
Dude.
I think you're setting up for like a power glove or some sort of like Wii, magic controller thing.
Or like the
And
IR sensor on the right Joy-Con or whatever.
absolutely.
Well, and that's funny because going back to what you were saying about the nostalgic side of it, I think it was the big presentation when they fully unveiled the Switch One. I like how we can call it Switch One now too, by the way. But it was when they went through the timeline. You remember, and they said every system has brought a new innovation to gaming. They said
Right.
NES was the D-pad, Super Nintendo was the shoulder buttons, N64 was the analog stick. Like they innovate every time almost.
Yeah.
Motion
Absolutely.
controls, obviously.
Mhm.
Switch was the Switch gimmick. So, yeah, like what's going to be the next innovation? Is there going to be an innovation that pushes this truly forward for gaming as a whole, or is it just kind of going to be a Switch number two, right?
So I honestly, I think one of the reasons that the Wii and the Wii U didn't do as well as it probably should have is
Yeah.
because it was so far ahead of its time. If you want to look at it in a specific way, the Wii was essentially the first virtual reality console, right? And
That's a good
now
way to
we
put
have
it.
we have the Meta Quest, we've got the whatever the PC version one is called.
I got my
can't remember.
PlayStation VR 2, which I love.
Right. And
I don't have the Labo VR kit though.
yeah. But when the Wii came out, I don't think people were really ready for virtual reality. The first one's always going to be the hardest one to sell because it's like, oh, well, here's this game, and as you move around, your character moves around. And so,
Right.
Unless you actually bought one and bought a bunch of games that incorporated the Wii joystick like that, I don't think they really appreciated how far ahead of that technology was. Now that virtual reality is basically everywhere, I think people are more used to it. So I think they have an opportunity to kind of go back and do games like Rad Racer with
Oh,
Power
man,
Glove
Rad
and all
Racer.
this stuff. And
Yeah.
the Virtual Boy, Princess Zelda, that's another one that it was just too far ahead of its time and people weren't
There was
quite
a
ready
Zelda
for
game
it.
on the Virtual Boy?
I only remember one game on the Virtual Boy.
I remember
because
Mario
the-
Tennis.
Yeah, yes.
And John in the chat, by the way, I missed. Oh, Sonny, what's going on, Sonny? Where is it? I gotta scroll. Oh, the thing with calling it the Switch 2 is it differentiates that it is different from the Switch 1. Also denotes it's a similar platform. Yeah, I mean, what else can you do? I think it's gonna be Switch 2. I mean, it is kind of lame, but like, what else can you do? Like, you got to bring your Switch people, and you got to tell them it's different than the first one, right?
And it seems to work for PlayStation. I mean, they've had PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. Like, they haven't differentiated from
Right.
the line of thinking at all.
And that's a good point because the masses are used to this, right? iPhone 5,
Right.
6, 7, 8, like we're used to the numbering with our phones, with other consoles. I don't think it's a bad move. It's just sort of like a I'm kind of slightly disappointed.
I don't know if I would use disappointed, but boring for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's definitely boring.
Yeah, but hey, if you got a install base of what is it now, 160 million people, like you got to do what you got to do, right? Bring them with
Right.
you.
Yeah.
Dude, we have 14 people in the chat. You guys know the rules, chat. If we hit that 20, so Chris, so when we hit 20 live consecutive viewers, we do a gift card giveaway for a gaming gift card.
Oh,
So
very
get your friends in here, guys. We're almost there. We're like 6 people away.
My wife should be watching. She better be watching.
If the baby's crying, he's good for at least another hour. But so you mentioned a couple things I definitely want to touch on. I'm looking over some of my notes here, and by the way, I looked up what the Switch 1 would cost today if it was launching, in the next couple months. What would it cost today adjusted for inflation? And it was almost $400.
Okay. Yeah.
So
sounds about right.
what do you think this will cost? I know we haven't really covered features and stuff yet that we think it might be packed into this, but like just from a market standpoint, seeing where the PS5's sitting, seeing whatever Xbox is doing right now. I don't follow Xbox. Where some of these other like tablet-based consoles are sitting, where do you think the price point? What's the sweet spot? Sweet. See what I did there?
Yeah, sweet switch. Sweet switch.
That's the name, the sweet switch.
I'm gonna venture to say that 400 is probably a good bet. I think it can be anywhere between 400 and 500.
And Princess Zelda's saying $399. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got, the PlayStation 5 is what, $600 right now, and then the Xbox.
Is
has
PS5
the
600
two
still?
versions. I believe so. I believe it's still
Wow.
600, $599.99. And then you have so Xbox has the two versions. They have the one that's 400, then the one that's 500.
Okay.
Nintendo generally comes in slightly less because they expect to sell more of their first-person games.
Sure.
So I would think 400 is probably a good bet for it.
I feel like people won't lose their minds at 400. Yeah, like
so?
I could see them. I mean, it's Nintendo. I could see them getting a little greedy and doing 449 or something. But I mean, Zelda's saying they might just do the awkward 429. Like that's possible too.
Yeah. Which I mean, it doesn't sound unreasonable, to be honest with you. I mean, everybody when the number first drops, everybody's gonna hate it because that's just how everybody is nowadays. I can't believe it's this much.
Hashtag
sells
internet.
1 million copies, and they're like, oh well, it was only this much.
Here we are still paying full price for like 3DSs in 2025. Yeah, a lot of the chat saying 420, 450. So I mean, I would be shocked if it was 500 or something like that, because then you're in the same arena as PS5 and you better be bringing the heat. Right. But that's not how Nintendo plays. We know that.
I honestly I don't think Nintendo can do that. I think that'd be a bad marketing strategy on there. I think part of what makes them special is their console is generally cheaper than the other guys.
Right. It's I see, especially now that they've mushed their handheld line into their home console line. I really feel like the Switch generation has been everyone owns a Switch, and then you pick PS5 or Xbox in addition to that, right?
Yeah.
And I was definitely in the PS5 camp.
Well, so now I always tell people this. If it wasn't for my brother, I would not have an Xbox. I'd be straight Nintendo and PS5. But my brother, for whatever reason, picked up now he goes back to the original Xbox. I think he was a Halo fan. I was not. I was not impressed with Halo.
I'm fairly unfamiliar with Halo as well.
Okay, and so now word on the mouth is, word on the street, Halo might be coming to the Nintendo Switch too.
I know.
So
now that Microsoft has opened their doors to all of us peasants, they're and my first thought when they started to shift, like beginning of last year, where they're like, yeah, we don't know what we're doing and we're bringing everything over, was Elder Scrolls 6, because when they bought Bethesda, I was like, oh no, I'm never going to own an Xbox and I'll never play Elder Scrolls 6. But now I feel better. Right. I feel better now.
Skyrim is on the Nintendo now, so I think Xbox, unfortunately, they do have, like I said, I always tell people I think the best deal in gaming is Game Pass. Especially if you have quality internet where you can upload and download games at a fairly reasonable pace.
Sure. John in the chat saying Master Chief versus Samus. Let's go. Smash.
But in the grand scheme of things, if I'm buying it strictly because of the console itself, Xbox is not what I would pick.
Yeah.
So I think what they're doing, allowing these other consoles and PC and everything to have their games, I think is what's going to keep them afloat going forward.
Yeah, I totally agree. And everybody in the chat, as I'm kind of watching, the kind of resounding message is I think correct, and that is that Nintendo, they don't care as much for power. They're usually about a generation solidly behind everybody, but we get games, on the weak baby Switch for kids. We get games like freaking Mario Odyssey, and we get games like Breath of the Wild, and they just are good at milking their systems, and they're coding wizards, right? They get all the juice out of their systems, and that's what we're going to get again.
That's one of the things that I still love about Nintendo, is you have all these other things are going, oh, well, we have to get the newest Unreal Engine going. We've got to have the best graphics, and that's really what, is selling today. And Nintendo's like, no thanks.
Yeah.
And Zelda's going to look like Zelda, Mario's going to look like
And you're going to
Mario,
freaking buy it.
and people are going to buy it. Yeah.
And I really do think, too, that the PS5 and the Xbox scene right now is really giving people a lot of graphic fatigue, because we get things like the Cyberpunk situation, broken games left and right, and Nintendo's games are polished AF, right? Like, they are not
absolutely.
Broken. And
they come out, they're complete.
Yeah, they're complete. They work. It's amazing. You can turn it on and pop it in, and it works. Which kind of brings me back to one last thing I want to touch on before we move into the next little piece here, and that is assuming that this Thursday we're going to get that teaser trailer. So let me back up a bit. The rumor is, if there's anybody in here that hasn't heard it yet, this Thursday is where they're going to drop the reveal. That's the rumor, and unlike most rumors, this one dropped this morning, and it is coming from pretty reliable sources like Nate the Hate.
Nate the Hate's a pretty reliable guy, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't just spout things around. And if that's true, they're saying it's going to be another, similar to what they did in October 2016 before the big rollout. It's going to be like a 3-minute trailer, probably with a song, probably no explaining features. It's just going to be showing it physically being used. You're going to get your cheesy people at the parties, like, whoa, like Nintendo Karen. We remember Nintendo Karen on the roof.
I was just about to mention her.
Which we never got a Nintendo Karen amiibo, by the way. That was disappointing.
That was a fail on it.
That was a big missed opportunity. But assuming that it's coming Thursday, we're going to get a trailer, and the rest of the rumor was that it's not going to be software focused. It's going to be hardware focused, which makes sense, but now again, we're back to, okay, how do you hype that up when you're just kind of showing software? But here's why I mentioned this, and here's my next question for you. If you remember in that first trailer, it was also pretty much hardware focused. It was showing the concept, but we got a glimpse of new 3D Mario, which ended up being Odyssey. Oh, yeah. We got a glimpse of NBA 2K. We got a glimpse of Splatoon 2. None of them were talked about. We saw Skyrim going on the Switch.
Right.
So what glimpses are we going to get of, because they're not going to show a powered down 3D model and be like, there you go. It's going to be hype. So what are we going to get glimpses at?
So I'm going to guess that it's going to be at least a screenshot of the new Mario game, the new 3D Mario game will probably be on there.
There has to be.
Like John Shepard says, I think Mario Kart will be one of the things that they show off.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised actually if they strictly stay to the Mario family, Donkey Kong.
Oh, keep it close to the first party stuff.
First party stuff. That's what. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
And then I think it's, I think you're probably going to see Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Really?
If I'm being completely honest with you.
Okay, so that is one way you drive hype with another Switch, right? It's like,
absolutely.
Rebirth is running on this thing, what? Like, which means automatically we'd know that the next one, I'm saying, I don't care what people say, it's going to be called Reunion. It's just going to be.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that's probably what it's going to be.
They're like, you can't do that because Crisis Core is Reunion. I'm like, I don't care. It makes too much sense. It's FF7 Remake or Reunion.
Right, that's where that's where the circle completes itself. You've got these different timelines, and now you're reunioning. That's a word, right?
Yeah, reunioning. Hey, Raziel's in the chat as well. Now, he is probably one of our biggest FF7 Remake fans, and I'm being sarcastic.
Okay.
He's in that camp, but he's like, I don't know if it can come to Nintendo, so I don't know. Anything can happen. Square. He's saying that Square has the rights to it, and they've got an exclusive thing with Sony, which I believe is true. But then they dropped. That was the case when they dropped Cloud and Smash. So like, who knows, man?
I was
Who knows?
gonna say. So from what I understand, the exclusivity deal they have with Nintendo or with Sony, is just for a year, and that's what allowed them to put the 2 new games on PC after a year.
Yeah.
So now that it's been more than a year for remake, they'll put the first one out. It'll probably be the third one will probably be released for PlayStation before the second one comes to Nintendo. But I believe the exclusivity deal is far enough away that they could probably put it on Nintendo.
Oh, and he was talking about FF Tactics. My bad.
But I see Tactics. There's a lot of rumors that Tactics is going to get remastered.
Yeah. They've been saying that for years, right?
Yeah. Final Fantasy IX is supposed to be getting remastered.
Oh, dude, well. Stop. I can't. Okay, we might as well just jump into the games here. I got a couple other things about the system itself, but we're talking about the games. That's the most hype part about this. Let's dive into the games. I am seeing that people are like, we hit 20. My account only shows 14 still, but OBS, it's weird. I trust my chat.
Oh yeah. No, well, okay. So I see 19 right now.
Okay.
It just updated to 19 on your actual YouTube page for me.
Okay, I'm gonna pull that. Okay, I trust you guys. We're definitely gonna do a game card giveaway for sure. I see that as well. I see that now too. Okay, I see you guys. Appreciate all of you being in here. Sonny's like, I'm excited to win again. Wise Basic, I didn't see you were in the chat. What's up, my friend? Okay, so we're going to do the quick giveaway before I forget while everybody's in here, and then we're going to jump into games. All right, here we go. This is how I do it. I'm a card magician, so I use cards to do this. Here we go. Ready? I've got my list of participants. Okay, I've got my number. Let me go to my little chat here. Stand by for attack. You know what? It's Wise Basic. Wise Basic, man.
Man.
Yeah, he's fairly new to the channel, so that's a really good win. I'm happy. Wise Basic, you just won yourself either a $20 eShop card or a 20. I think this, if you go with PlayStation, I think they go by 25. So it might be a $25
You're right.
PlayStation store. So Wise Basic, my email's in the description as always. By the way, BigSweetC's link is in the description too, so you better be subscribed to him. But go down there, Wise Basic, and email me so we can start communicating about that card, and we'll hook you up, my friend. Congratulations.
Congratulations, dude. That's awesome.
All right, sweet. We got to get to the game. So you mentioned a couple things, and I'm sweating already. This chat knows I worship at the feet of Final Fantasy IX. That is my favorite game of all time.
Okay,
and
yeah, see, man.
People start. I don't know if this is just coincidence or what, but with the rumors of, it was actually yesterday and then the Nate the Hate one this morning. Of course, all the news is circulating now off of that, ricocheting everywhere, and talks of FF9 are popping up. I don't know if it's coincidence. I don't know if it's founded on anything, but even PushSquare.com said, here's our predictions for whatever, and they included FF9 in it. I'm just like, stop toying with my emotions. I can't handle it. Every single Nintendo Direct or State of Play reaction I've done on this channel, I've been like, this is the day. I feel it. It's FF9 remake time, and it's never happened. If they drop that in any of the Switch stuff, I might go into a coma live on YouTube. Like, dude, oh. Okay, so that's all I have to say about that.
Hey, I agree with you. This is technically the first time I'm playing all the way through Final Fantasy VIII, and I have absolutely loved it. The reason I didn't play it originally is because that was kind of my brother's game, right? He watched me play 7, so I watched him play 8. But when 9 came out, it was like mind-blowing to me. 9 was such a good Final Fantasy game. I know a lot of people that got into Final Fantasy because of 9 specifically. And so a remastered or a remake version of that would really blow the top off of stuff.
Oh, man.
I think it would be huge news.
Oh, I would not care anything about the hardware at that point. I would just be losing my mind. my kids would be in here with defibrillators trying to get me resurrected. Like, oh man. But you also mentioned FF7, and I think there's a real shot at that as well. I mean, what else? That's one of those mainstream titles that would just bring whatever the hype is at. It'll bring it up 2 notches, just no matter what.
Absolutely. So I think a lot of people don't buy Final Fantasy anymore because it is quote unquote PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah.
I think some people do wait until it drops on PC to play it then. But I think with the success of the Pixel remasters, I think Nintendo has realized that they're missing out on some
That's a good call
of gaming.
I think you're right. There was an epiphany there.
They're like, you know what? Hey, we messed up by
people
not
like
trying to
this
keep Final Fantasy, and I think they're gonna bring it back. I think they're gonna do everything they can to try and bring it back.
Yeah. Raziel's also saying big sweet volume, maybe a little more if you can, but I know you probably maxed it out.
Yeah,
and I'm probably shouting like I always do, so I need to back off too.
Try and just put my mouth as close to the thing.
There you go. But not only from the Final Fantasy fandom perspective, but that would be an awesome way to showcase the power, because they're saying it's going to be about PS4-ish power, and I have no reason to believe why that wouldn't be true.
PS4 Pro, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like technically less than a generation ago in terms of power, So
and like Horizon Forbidden West was on the PS4. That game is insane looking. So like, this could carry them for quite a while if that's true, if that power level's true.
I think so too.
Okay, and I'm going to turn down my volume a little bit, they said. Okay. Let me know how that is, guys. Thanks for the feedback there. Another good way, Twilight Princess they're talking about. So that's one I had. And actually in my one of my prediction videos about the Switch 2, or rather missing ports on the Switch is what the video was about.
Yeah, I was going to say, I watched your video.
Yeah.
Chrono Trigger is a good one, and Twilight Princess. Yeah, why, I understand why they did Skyward Sword, because having gone back and replayed it, so much of that continues into Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Like, I get it.
That's where its DNA came from.
Twilight Princess was that unfortunate end of the GameCube era, beginning of the Wii U, and kind of got, mixed in between, right? And so I think a lot of people might have skipped Twilight Princess to just wait for Skyward Sword to come out for the Wii. And so I think this would be a perfect time to come out with a remaster of, in my opinion, one of the top 2 or 3 best Zelda games. Like, I loved Twilight Princess. Loved it.
It's so good. And they're sitting on, something I mentioned in that video is they're sitting on Ocarina of Time, which most people hail as one of the greatest games of all time. It's still on the 3DS. Yeah. Like, the remake is still locked on the 3DS. Why have they not ported that to Switch? That would be hype, too, if, like, in that first trailer on Thursday, maybe, we see them playing, like, Ocarina of Time. People would lose it.
Oh, I think so, too. So, that's a good one. That could be put on there as well. Wind Waker, Hero of Time brought up. I think that was a great game as well. That could be revamped pretty easily.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Zelda games that I think would look really good. A Link to the Past with new
Link to the Past
graphics would be great.
Oh, that would be. I'm scrolling up in the chat a little bit. Colby would have to go change his pants if they put it on Switch too. Speaking of FF9, yeah, John. We'd have to get professional cleaners in here for my office chair.
Yeah. But I mean, you could make it look really good without doing a whole lot of actual remaking. With this 2D HD stuff now, I mean, you could make a Super Nintendo game look like a brand new game just by giving it a fresh coat of paint. It would be great.
And I mean, it goes with, this is an understatement really, but resurrecting something like Chrono Trigger or Ocarina of Time or whatever, to say it would be great for this new generation. Like, we're talking like 4 generations. Like,
right, absolutely.
There are people that, I was thinking about this earlier today in preparation for this conversation, going back to like that it's been 8 years since the Switch 1 came out. There were people now that were kids, like that was their childhood, that are in college now. Like, when from the time that came out to now, they might be married and have kids when they were like, that was their childhood console, just in one generation. So you take a game like Chrono Trigger or Link to the Past, like you said, We're talking. This is basically a new game for most people,
Right,
except
absolutely.
for us old
And you're
people.
bringing in a new, whole new, like player base just by putting out something that you technically don't even really need to invest a whole lot in because you already have it, right?
Yeah,
You already have the game,
like what they did with
and you
Link's
know that
Awakening.
not only are new players going to buy it, but I mean, I would,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know,
they'd get all of us old people for sure. We're
absolutely.
suckers for nostalgia. People are calling out Minish Cap is still stuck on the GBA, the Oracle
Hmm.
games. Even though I agree with
Yeah, the
Razio,
Four
I think they're
Swords.
kind of
Yeah,
mid,
shit,
whatever.
man.
But those could be really cool if they fully remade them.
Hmm. And with the success, Hero of Time brings it up. With the success of online gaming, Four Swords would be like a totally new game now. You know, like it.
And I never
That
played
was, I
that
think,
one.
one of the ones wasn't as successful again because you have this technology that's there, but not quite perfected yet.
Yeah.
Because you got to have the four, you got to have the four
Game Boy
Game
Advance.
Boys right
Are they
there,
bringing
and they
back
have to
Sweet?
be.
Are they bringing back the link cable?
Oh.
Just for old time's sake.
I mean, hey, maybe.
Oh, Sonny's calling me out. Who you calling old, Colby? Them's fighting words. Rick Souls, what's going on, my friend? Good to see you in the chat. Um, so on that note, we're talking about Minish Cap and stuff like that. Do you think we're going to get, whether it's in this trailer or at launch, a new NSO system like GameCube, DS, something like that?
So, I think, mm, that's another great question. I think maybe it will be something kind of at the back end where it'll be like also included is this now on Nintendo Online. But I think the reveal trailer is going to be kind of specific to the console itself.
Yeah.
Not many of the external bonuses of it. I think they'll probably do a Nintendo Direct for that, and it'll be like, hey, we're gonna dig into the nitty gritty now. This is what you're gonna get. You sign up for Nintendo Online, you're gonna get this now, and you're gonna get this now. So that's a good theory that they could, because it would be something where that's another thing where it's like, well, why do I want to buy a Nintendo Switch 2? My Nintendo Switch works just fine. I
Yeah.
get Nintendo Online and all
I
this
just got
stuff.
my OLED.
Mm.
Oh, dude,
But if
corny puddle in the
if
chat
they're
saying
like,
Dreamcast.
right, yeah,
Oh,
and that's another thing too. Because they own Sega, but now
yeah,
you have a legitimate reason for these people that don't really have a reason to upgrade.
yeah.
Well, now you're going to give me Nintendo Online, and you're going to give me the Dreamcast setup too. You're
Dude,
going to
that
give
would
me
be hype,
GameCube games now
actually.
too. It's a very very good way to kind of get people to want to upgrade.
Yeah, yeah.
It reminds me actually of PlayStation when PS5 was coming out because they only had like 4 games available for PS5, but they were like, hey, if you buy this now, we'll give you these 15 games on PlayStation Plus for free.
Oh, that's
And
right.
it's not like they were bad games. I mean, The
That's
Last of
right.
Us was one of them.
Last
Fallout 4
Guardian,
is always a
right?
great game. Skyrim was given out. Like, there was
Yeah,
a bunch of stuff that was really good games that they just gave to you because you decided to upgrade.
yeah, totally. Now, and just to pause the game discussion for real quick, since you were talking about, I think you're right with the direct thing. I think this trailer will absolutely be, and I'm just gonna talk like it's happening on Thursday. I think it's gonna be like that 3 minute quick thing, hardware, couple
Hmm.
little surprises maybe, and a tease, right? And I think
There'll
they're
be
gonna
some
do the
Easter
exact
eggs,
same
yeah.
thing they did last time. 2 months later, wait, maybe a month later, we're gonna do the hour and a half presentation, get a release date. I don't know. Do you think they're gonna drop a release date on this little trailer?
I think they'll give a release time period, like
Window, like a
coming
month.
this fall or yeah, the
Oh yeah,
holiday
yeah.
season or whatever. But
So let me
I don't
throw
think
that
we'll
at
get
you.
like an
What
actual
what is
date.
that window?
I honestly I think they're gonna probably drop it late October, early November.
Oh, okay. So like
That way,
later end
because
of the year.
I mean, you just passed the PlayStation 2 as the second highest selling console of all time. The worst thing I think they could do is be like, oh, hey, guess what? It's coming out in March. All you guys that bought a Nintendo Switch in December,
Yeah.
go F yourself.
It's like, sorry, we're
So
moving on.
right.
And
So
we've got a couple people in the chat saying holiday 25.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you have to give them some time to play that before you're like, hey, now it's time to upgrade.
So I'm going to be the crazy optimist here. I'm saying summer. I'm thinking
Okay.
June. I think it's going to be a faster turnaround time than some of us think. Who knows? I could be completely wrong. Friggin' John in the chat's like September of 26. Dude, get out of here. He's trolling us now. 9 months from now. Dude, stop. And if they revealed FF9
not
remake,
according to what's outside my house right now.
Yeah. Stop. Yeah, I guess we'll find out. Time will tell. But another game I want to throw at you, because we know this game exists and we know it's coming soon. Metroid Prime 4. Do you think this is going to be a Breath of the Wild on Wii U, Switch situation, cross-platform? Like, what do you think the Metroid Prime 4 situation is going to look like?
I think it's going to be a Nintendo Switch 2 game. I don't think they'll
Exclusive.
put it on Nintendo Switch. It'll be one of their base release games. I mean, with the way I think they underappreciated the love for the Metroid series when they came out with Metroid Prime Remastered, and it was sold out for months.
And even Dread.
Yeah, even Dread was so good.
Dread was so good.
Dread was so good.
Yeah, yeah. It was to hear Samus speak in Chozo, man. I was like, okay, this is next level.
And so I think they know they have something along the lines of like a Mario Kart. There'll probably be like a holiday bundle with Mario Kart. Get this, but you also get the downloaded game.
Yeah.
But I think they have something solid enough to be a launch title that will convince people to upgrade.
Has there ever been a Metroid launch title?
Switch 1, I think you kind of lose out on a lot of those people.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think if Nintendo's ever launched a system with a Metroid game. I don't think they have.
I don't think they have either. Now, I think Super Metroid might have come out fairly soon after the Super Nintendo was released, but it definitely wasn't a launch title.
Yeah. I think Super Metroid came out in the prime of the Super NES, sometime in the middle, but because it's 93, I think. So a couple years in. But
I think it was 91 when the Nintendo released.
Is that when it was? Yeah. So I think you're right. I think it's going to be a launch title. But I do think it's going to be a cross-gen, a cross-platform release. But here's what I'm thinking, and we're going to touch a little bit on the gimmick side of things. I think Metroid Prime 4 is going to be their flagship poster child for one of their key features, which is that AI upscaling feature we've heard rumors about. We know it's backwards compatible, but hey, you throw Odyssey in here, now it's at 60 FPS. Or like you throw Odyssey in here and look how much better it looks, or whatever it is. I think if that feature exists, Prime 4 is going to be their poster child for that feature. It's like, hey, you can play it on your Switch 1 and it's fine, but check it out on Switch 2 though.
Right, absolutely. And so, and again, not to get too political about it, but we have a big movement now where, there's a lot of game companies that say they don't have enough diversity, right? We'll just use that for a lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Nintendo being able to go, hey, well, here's this game with this bad A woman.
Yeah.
And she's the lead of it.
And she doesn't suck like most girl bosses.
I think you get a lot of those Sweet Baby Inc. companies off your back.
Totally.
Because now you have a flagship console, not just a game, not just a franchise, but a console as well, being sold by women, and I think that would be big for Nintendo.
And I think Samus is one of the few the girl boss term, right? A lot of times that's used negatively because a lot of times it's created in a crappy way. But she's one of the prime examples of a real girl boss that's actually awesome and has the street cred from the years of being awesome, right?
Right.
So. Okay, so we've talked about Metroid Prime 4. You mentioned something else earlier I really wanted to touch on too. New Mario Kart. I also agree. I mean, Mario Kart 8 for the Wii U, I know we have Deluxe on the Switch, but Mario Kart 8 is like 10 years old now. I think it was 2015, actually, when Mario Kart 8 came out. So we are way overdue for a new Mario Kart. And a lot of people hear that, and I'm kind of surprised, actually, that they're like, what are you talking about? Like, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is so new. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like, this should be ready by now.
I will say it does have like some newness feel to it, just because I mean it was what, 6 months, maybe a year ago that they released the extra 30
The
tracks or
booster
whatever it
course
was.
pass, dude. Yeah,
But yeah, no, it's an older game now, and if if the hardware is capable of doing it, I think you can make a new Rainbow Road that looks even better than the already
dude.
amazing Rainbow Road you have
Rainbow
with
Road's already
Mario Kart 8. So
infuriating as it is. We don't need a 4K Rainbow Road. I'll be so pissed. We all hate Rainbow Road. But you're right. But where do you take a new Mario Kart though? Anyway, other than graphically looking prettier.
sure, you've got again, it's going to be mostly focused on, I think, on the tracks themselves. But I mean, you've got new characters now that you can bring in. So,
Yep.
you've now that you've expanded the Nintendo world to outside sources, you already brought Cloud into to Super Smash Brothers.
Yep.
Why not bring Aerith into Super Mario
Dude, can you
Kart? You
imagine?
know? Oh, dude, I mean, I think that'd be great.
That would be
People are
so
clamoring for
amazing.
Tifa to be in Tekken. Like, I could see Barrett driving this cart.
Mario driving
Like,
through
I mean,
Midgar, like Midgar
yeah,
level.
there you go. You could bring in different worlds now. Now it's not just the Mario Kart world that we know of, but you can put them in like a Beyond Prime, Samus Aran
Dude.
Metroid world. Now you can put it in to a Midgar. With the Pixel remasters coming out, maybe you add Terra or Locke,
Oh
or
man.
like, you have a whole new sea of stuff you can bring into your Mario Kart now, and it doesn't have to just be the same levels, just better looking.
I think you're right. You give it this essentially you give it the Smash Ultimate treatment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're right. They dabbled with it this gen with Deluxe because you have Inklings in there, you have Link in there, obviously, but they added
Hmm.
Animal Crossing stuff. So yeah, I think you're right. Make it like the Smash Ultimate of Mario Kart. Yeah.
Yeah, shoot, you got Sephiroth in there with his giant mass immune sword, just like trying to lay
Introduce some
waste everybody.
fatalities, like a fatalities gimmick. Dude, yeah, and I honestly do think I don't think we're gonna get a Mario Kart at launch, but I think it's gonna be launch window. I think for like first year, like we're gonna see a new Mario Kart.
Yeah. They keep doing it, and I mean, they've done it at least for the last 5 years that I can remember. But they've had the holiday bundle. You buy the Nintendo Switch, you get the downloaded version of Mario Kart. So that's
Yeah.
why I think they'll probably release it late October, early November, with the intention of having a Christmas bundle with like Mario Kart, or maybe even, I know it wasn't like super successful, but I honestly think that there's enough people out there that are willing to give Mario Golf another try
Oh
if it
yeah.
had a little bit more. Like, I think the biggest problem with Mario Golf Super Rush was there was really only like 4 levels,
That
like,
was the newest one
and it
on the
was.
Switch, Super Rush.
Hmm.
Okay.
And like, it wasn't a bad game. It just had features that I don't think people wanted. Like, I
Sure.
think people were clamoring for more of like a Mario 64 golf, where it's just, you've got 5 or 6 like 18-hole golf courses that you just play golf with, not running and just hitting it and trying to get it in the hole as fast as possible and all this stuff. So,
Yeah.
I think Mario Golf would be another
Mario
one that you could
Golf. I didn't
make
even
into
think
like
of the
a
Mario
great
sports
3D
games.
game. Hmm.
Yeah, that's a good call. And Jason's in the chat is saying Splatoon. What about Splatoon? I mean, I feel like they pumped Splatoon 2 and 3 out way too fast. Like they put them way too close together. Like two in
Sure.
one
Yeah.
generation?
Yeah.
Like what?
Hmm.
I kind of
Yeah.
checked out of
It's
Splatoon after 2, but it's a good call. I mean, I could see them. It's huge in Japan, so
Mario Tennis, I think, would be a great game too. Yeah. Shoot, man. Like the Wii Sports games. Again, if you're gonna start incorporating more of like the ray tracing and the like the Wii aspect with the Wii chucks and everything
yeah.
into the Nintendo too, then Mario Sports, Wii Sports, that kind of stuff could be great. Like you're saying, Mario Tennis would be awesome because Wii Tennis was phenomenal. And the fact that they gave that away with the
So
Nintendo
fun.
Wii was
Wii
one of the
Sports was
greatest
so
things ever.
fun.
You could do a Mario bowling game. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff you could do with it that I think that I think Nintendo was just kind of sitting on,
Yep.
and I think they were ready for an excuse to kind of put this stuff out there. And with the Nintendo Switch 2 coming out, it gives them a reason to put this stuff out there as encouragement to upgrade with the Nintendo.
Yeah, totally. Man, yeah, I didn't even think about the Mario sports games. And to your point, that could
Mhm.
be a nice thing that they didn't do with the Switch One, which is include a pack-in title,
Right, right. Mm,
which I really think 1-2 Switch should have been a pack-in title. It was a fun game. It
probably.
was whatever. It was like, oh, the Joy Cons are so cool, but like $60. I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah, no, and that I so I still call it Twitter. I know it's called X or whatever, but I saw a lot of people, kind of going back to like the pricing. I saw a lot of people that were like, "Well, I don't want it to be 400, but I can accept that." But they, what the one thing that they were dead set on was, I don't want $70 games. I don't want $60 controllers. Like,
Oh wow.
a- and I agree with that to a certain extent. Like
Yeah.
I you don't put as much money into a Nintendo game as you would like an Xbox or a PlayStation game.
Yeah.
You never hear Nintendo going, "Oh, we spent $150 million putting together Tears of the Kingdom."
Right.
And so for them to charge the same price, I can understand why people would be upset with that.
I could too. Now, but on the to play devil's advocate though, because the last game I wanted to talk about was the other one you mentioned would be in a possibility, which I absolutely think will be part of the picture, and that's a new 3D Mario. And
Hmm.
I could see, of course, what we've been hearing for years is where do you take it from there? Not Bowser's Inside Story. What was the 3D World re-release pack-in? Oh, what was that called? Bowser. It was like an open world Mario.
Not Bowser's Cast. Bowser's
Bowser's
Fury.
Fury.
Was it
Bowser's Fury,
Yeah.
which I beat. I can't remember. I don't know why I couldn't remember it. That was fun, but like
Yeah.
I think there people are right. Where like that's where you take Mario next is make it open world. So if we get a
Mhm.
Ghost of Tsushima, Mario of Tsushima, I could see that being 70.
Sure, sure, okay. And now, John, actually, this is kind of where I was thinking too. They would have like a Mario multiverse,
Oh
almost like
man,
it'd almost be like a Matrix version, right? You kind of go through this game, and as you're going through this game, you're kind of revisiting worlds that Mario's already been to. So,
like
some of
previous
it
games,
is, yeah,
dude.
some of it's, Mario 2, you got a little aspect of that. You
Oh
visit some of the
man,
places, you see some of the bad guys. Then you get into Super Mario Land where you've got, like Yoshi comes in for a little bit. And so, yeah, I do see this kind of
that's
Mario
a cool
multiverse
idea.
type of thing. The other thing I think they could do is kind of piggyback off the success of the movie. And so now maybe you give Mario a voice, right? And so you have this story that kind
Huh?
of follows a real life Mario getting dropped into this Mario world land. And so if they if they then upgrade that kind of stuff, right? You start putting voice actors in, you start bringing in different aspects of the other Mario games. You're probably going to increase your budget. It would make more sense that you would charge more for the game because of that.
Yeah, man, that's a good. I hadn't given a ton of thought to be honest about what the new 3D Mario could look like. I'm just convinced.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say it's gonna be a launch game, whatever it is.
I would agree with that too, actually, because that's still the Nintendo staple, right?
Yeah,
The
you gotta
one
launch with
the
Mario.
one person everybody knows is Nintendo. You could argue Zelda, you can argue Donkey Kong, but everybody knows Mario. And
Yeah,
because of the success of the movie, I think you have to have a Mario game on launch.
and let's be real. Aside from third parties, that's how you bring the hype up too. Oh yeah, it's a Switch 2. Okay, it's the same thing. Oh my gosh, open world Mario. Like I'm
Right,
there. Day
absolutely.
one. Yeah.
And maybe you have some sort of like skill tree development and everything, and
Mario
you
skill
really
tree.
start bringing in this complexity, so to speak, of a Mario game. I
Mario
think.
Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Dude, those are some good ideas. And man, you're just like leading us right along perfectly because you mentioned literally the last one of the last ones I wanted to bring up here. This Switch 1 generation, there has been two mainstay first party IPs that Nintendo didn't really touch. outside of a few remasters and ports, and that is Donkey Kong and Star
Mm-hmm.
Fox. Neither one of those got a brand new entry in the Switch One generation.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually kind of surprised that Star Fox didn't. Now I can see, you've got Donkey Kong and you have a lot of those games on the emulators and whatnot, so you're kind of
You had
building an
Tropical Freeze
interest
get
for it.
ported.
Hmm. But like Star Fox, I mean, Star Fox basically has what, two, three games in the franchise.
Yeah, you've got
So
the original, and you've
I
got
think,
64.
hmm
There was
and
Star
then,
Fox Assault was on the DS, but it was like more of a spin-off.
right,
And then
and
you
so I
have
don't think,
Zero on the
I
Wii U.
think it skipped outside of Star Fox being in Smash Brothers.
Yeah,
I think it skipped basically the GameCube and Wii and the Wii generation.
I guess GameCube had Star Fox Adventures, but that's again
Oh,
that was a reskin or not a reskin, but it was a pivot halfway through development from Dinosaur Planet, so it's a different thing.
right.
But Star
Hmm.
Fox Zero on the Wii U, it was a mid game anyway, but it was on the Wii U, and I think that's what its real problem was. So,
Sure,
but
sure.
I love Star Fox, so I would love to see a new Star Fox.
And I mean, and again, so like you have the perfect console for it because if you're playing it handheld, like in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, when you're moving the thing, you're
Oh
aiming your bow and arrow,
yeah.
right? And so now you're in the ship and you're physically moving the ship around
Oh
as you
man.
as you play the
Disconnect
game.
the Joy Cons and put them in like a ship wheel, like a cockpit,
Yeah,
like.
yeah, no, absolutely. Like I think it would be a great kind of like comeback to the Star Fox franchise,
Yeah.
and one that I think a lot of people would get into,
Wise
because
Basic
like
in
you
the
said,
chat loves the idea.
we just really haven't had one in a while, and I don't know about anybody else there, but Star Fox was one of my favorite characters to play as in Smash Brothers. Like his character is so fast, and like you've got the gun, but you've also got like melee stuff. Like he was a great character to play as. So
Yeah. He's kind of another Captain Falcon. He needs a new chance, a second chance in life. Fox just
right.
in general as a character.
That brings up Captain Falcon. Brings up another one. You could get the F-Zero franchise going again.
Where did that go? What happened?
I think it kind
Nintendo,
of
what
got
happened?
replaced from Mario Kart. They just kind of. Yeah.
Ah, that's a good call. There's no room for two major racer series.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, sure. But I mean, so I'm not going to go on a huge tangent here, but during the Wii U era, I had a vivid dream about a new Star Fox. And ever since, I haven't been able to get it out of my head. In fact, I'm a writer, so I got up and I outlined the plot. I just wrote a treatment out for the plot. I was like, this would be so cool. And it did involve gyro stuff. It involved fixing your cockpit on the touch screen, on the gamepad touch screen. And like, the coolest thing about it was super dark. It was like Interstellar, the movie Interstellar. It had
Oh
like
yeah,
that
yeah,
vibe
yeah.
to it. It was very
Okay.
dark and like gritty.
Yeah, shoot, man. That's one that I wish I would have saw that in the theaters because I didn't really know what to expect, and I feel bad because it's Christopher Nolan, and like you should expect greatness out of him. But yeah, no, that's a great feel to a video game.
Dude,
Absolutely.
it just needs a reboot. I think it needs a
Mm,
reboot.
I think so too. I think so too.
But
Kind of along that same line. Shoot, I just had a brain fart too. You had reminded me of again talking about success of movies and video game franchises. I think the Nintendo Switch 2 could do with a new Sonic the Hedgehog game. Because
yeah,
you've got all the characters, you've got everybody's seen the movies now. I mean, it's made $10 billion between the three of them. So I think people could get into a new Sonic game as well.
that could be a whole other piece of the pie that we've never really had to deal with before in this next
Hmm.
generation for Nintendo is movie and game tie-ins because we have the Zelda movie coming as well, and we have no idea what that's
Right,
going to look
right.
like. So, all
Hmm.
kinds of potential.
If they get the same people that did the Mario movie, I won't be like nervous about the Zelda movie
Yeah,
at all. The one thing that I've always said to people, I was like, how do you make Link a character when no one's actually heard what Link sounds like outside of like a
Excuse me, princess.
right? Yeah.
That's all
You
we
know?
know.
Yeah, so it's like that'll be how do they introduce, the way he talks and how he talks and what he sounds like and stuff.
I don't know,
But I
man.
mean, like if they get the same people that created the Mario game, I think they'll do a fantastic job with the
Yeah.
Zelda game or
And
the
I know
Zelda
Shigeru
movie.
Miyamoto's overseeing it, so I feel okay
Mm,
about it. But I've actually got a video coming out, hopefully in the next week or so, on my channel about the silent protagonist gimmick in games and how I don't really like it anymore. And Link is one of the biggest culprits, of course, now that
sure,
Breath of the
sure.
Wild
Yeah,
NPCs are
he's
voiced.
because he's always had he's had his Tinkerbell,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And the turning point was Breath of the Wild and Tears because now everybody but him is voiced. And it's like, all right, this is getting awkward. Like, we got to do something
Right,
about
right.
this.
That's a good point. Shoot, that's a good point.
Weird. But any other games that you're thinking of that might be part of the piece of the pie for launch or launch window?
I do think there'll be a new Donkey Kong game. I would love to see like an updated Donkey Kong Country.
Oh,
I thought that
dude.
was a great
Like
franchise
a
that kind
oh, a
of
new one in the
disappeared.
series.
Series, yeah.
Okay.
Whether they do like a Donkey Kong Country Origins or kind of like they did with Breath of the Wild, where they went back and they basically started a new story and made it fresh and new.
Yeah.
I do think a new DK game would be great. Um,
And the rumors have been flying about that for about a year too.
sure, yeah, because it's about time.
Yeah,
Like
it is.
you can't sit on these characters for so long, and this I think is why Nintendo has been so ruthless against emulators, right? Is because they know they're sitting on these gold mines, and like people want these games, and so now they've come to realize that they have to start bringing these franchises back, or they're just going to get inundated with. They're going to spend all their time making lawsuits against these emulator companies.
Yeah.
And so I think they're going to start really digging deep into the vault and bringing back people that we haven't seen in a long time.
Their legal team over there, they're working 80-hour weeks.
I
Like
was gonna, they're working overtime for sure. And,
especially with all the leaks coming out this past couple weeks with the hardware side of things. But
mm,
the last thing I'll say about Donkey Kong is where I think that has a lot more credence than some of the other thoughts is they've just opened Donkey Kong expansion at Super Nintendo World, the amusement park.
hmm
And of course, we have Donkey Kong being back in the spotlight with the movie, like you said.
Right,
There's just
right.
and they've released all the Game Boy Donkey Kong games on the NSO. Like they've been doing a lot of Donkey Kong stuff lately, and it feels like it's building towards something.
Sure, sure. Building hype for it. Yeah, no, and that's what I was saying. You can only have these characters that are so iconic. You can only have them gone for so long before people start not liking the fact that you don't have them in your games anymore.
Yeah,
And you can turn people off. There's definitely people out there that like you and we were introduced to Nintendo because of Final Fantasy. I guarantee you there's just as many people that were introduced from Donkey Kong, and that's why they follow Nintendo, and you're going to lose those
he's the
people.
OG.
Right, you're going to lose those people if you don't bring it back, and
Yeah,
so I think there's a lot of reason for it to come back. And from what the leaks have been saying, the cartridges hold, I think, 3 times as much memory storage now as the Nintendo Switch ones do.
wow, that
And so
much.
there's no reason not to bring these franchises back.
Yeah, yeah. Which is crazy. This is totally a side thought, but cartridges. I can't. I mean, I can believe it, but it's pretty cool that the Switch 2 is still doing cartridges. We're still on cartridges. I mean,
I
how
love
can they
them.
have to? But
I absolutely refuse to buy hard copies of Xbox and PlayStation games. I will never
really, you're all digi.
buy digital copies of Nintendo. I always have to have the Nintendo cartridge.
There's something
Always.
special about it, isn't there?
Yeah. Absolutely.
There
Absolutely.
is. Well, let me pivot then to some of the gimmicks. We're going to kind of jump back now to the hardware itself because we were
Sure.
talking about cartridges. Do you think we're going to have a DS situation that had the DS cart slot on top and a GBA cart slot on the bottom, right? Do you think it's
Mm,
going to be Switch 1 slot, Switch 2 slot, or are they going to be the same thing? Kind of like the Game Boy, some of the Game Boy backwards compatibilities just had an extra tab on the newer games or
sure,
whatever.
sure.
What do you think of that?
I tend to think technology is probably good enough now that they can just make stronger chips in smaller sizes.
Sure.
So I'm gonna venture to say that it's just gonna be the one slot, and both cartridges are gonna fit. That would be my guess.
I agree. I agree. I've heard some people saying there's going to be multiple, and they may even put a DS slot in there, and I'm like, no, that's not happening. Um, Now let me see if I can bring up. This is going to be an experiment here. You might even have to see that. I'm going to try and pull up an image for everybody to see. You might have to look at my live feed, but let's see if I can pull this like this. So looking at some of the leaks, Nintendo is the leakiest boat on the ocean. Like it's been bad for them recently. Tell me if this pops up for you.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the alleged Switch 2 Joy-Con, and it's fairly believable, I think. But this is what you were talking about before, where you got your SLSR buttons, and they're a lot wider and fatter this time around. But then you've got this mysterious sensor in the middle top.
Mm-hmm.
The big black thing in the middle is, I'm pretty sure, is your magnetic connector, which is the other thing everybody's saying, right? But what is that sensor at the top? That's what you were saying, where people are guessing this might be a mouse sensor, right?
Right. Yeah. Some sort of like a mouse pad type of thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, my brain starts racing. Assuming, and the first thing I did was disconnect one of my Joy Cons and put it on the table like a mouse and kind of felt it out. Like, how would this work? And I mean, it was awkward a little bit, of course, but I didn't hate it, to be honest. I was like, this could actually work. I kind of laughed at the idea when I first heard it, but I was like, this might be a thing.
No, even though, like, I mean, there's not much that I can think of outside of maybe like Mario Paint. They come back with Mario
Paint. I didn't even think of that.
And you use that as your drawing pad.
Or Mario Maker.
But like, I'm always of the belief that the more your system can do, the better system quality it's going to be, because there's so many things that you can just come up with, right?
Developers
again,
have more tools.
Was the only thing that really came to mind with me. But I mean, like, so like Beat Saber, right? We're going back to the virtual reality games and whatnot. Beat Saber, maybe you have something to do with like that kind of stuff where you're using the mouse pad to hit the beats, and you got like a little Rock Band thing going on.
Oh, dude, Rock Band, bring the Rock Band back. Party like it's 1999 again. 2004. Party like it's 2004.
Right. Hopefully we don't run into like a Y2K thing, but
Yeah. My first thought was first person shooters, right? Controls, like a PC.
Absolutely, yeah. You've got the first person shooters where you use that as your aiming pad, right? Like,
yeah.
I totally think the more options you have, the better the games are going to be, because then you can give developers the option. Here's what we're thinking. You do your best work, and let's see what happens. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I would not be surprised if you remember the message Nintendo was pushing pretty hard with the Switch 1 was the modes. You had portable mode, tabletop mode, and TV mode. What if they just said PC mode? Like, there's a new mode.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's, now I'm not sure how much I take into, how much I really believe, because I've seen some home screens that have the potential to look a lot like an Xbox home screen, right? You're hovered over the little icon for the game you're about to choose, and then it shows like a bigger picture above it of that game.
Right.
And so with the mouse pad or the mouse sensor, you have an opportunity to basically put like a Nintendo OS on the Nintendo Switch.
That would be wild.
And you can adjust your home screen. You can kind of like the PS5 does now, but you can choose where the icons pop up. You can choose, do I see my friends online, or do I see the trophies that I'm looking for? Trophies are another thing that you can now incorporate into Nintendo games. You know, like there's just a ton of stuff you can do as long as you have the options to do it.
That's a good call out, because that's something everyone agrees was very lacking this gen with Nintendo, was the OS stuff. The eShop was crappy. The home screen never got folders or themes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, what? I mean, I get it. They wanted to keep it snappy and stuff, but like
Sure.
that's something they have a lot of potential to mine.
Right. And I mean, even if they kept like the same eShop like they have now, it would just be infinitely easier to use a mouse tracking pad to
Oh,
navigate
dude.
those as opposed to like I have to go down, right, down, left, up, down.
Yeah.
Like it was just impossible to navigate.
It was so
You know?
laggy and like
Yeah. Mm.
this is just a quick thought while we're talking about this because I've made up a bingo card for myself that I might share with the community once we get to the presentation side of things. But one thing I put on there was, are they going to revamp friend codes and like me's and like that kind of
Mm.
stuff? Could
Yeah,
be.
shoot, man. That was Here's my friend code. It's like 35 digits long. Hopefully you can
It's got letters, it's got numbers, it's got math
Yeah,
equations.
yeah. You get it all in and it pops up. It's some random guy. You're like, I don't know him. And so you're going through all like 35 different like, oh my God.
And once we're finally friends, the only thing I can see is like your favorite game, and that's it. I can't see anything
Right,
else.
right. Yeah.
Now, this has to be mentioned while we're talking about OS related stuff. Is Nintendo finally going to move into the 2000s and do native voice chat system of some kind? Or are we using an awkward app still?
I mean, thank God for Discord because it's made it a lot easier.
Right?
But here's my thing with that. Like
Rixels
if
in the
you
chat
put
says
on
not a chance.
Yeah, see my only downfall to that is like if you do bring in native game chat, then you're expecting people to get a headset, right? And if you're a player that plays mostly handheld, I'm probably not going to want to play with a headset while I'm playing handheld.
Yeah.
Like it just
Yeah.
seems that it would feel awkward to me.
Well, and then maybe they'll build in a mic or something to the system or to
Sure.
the Joy-Cons. Who knows?
Absolutely, and that could work out. Like it'd be one thing if you had like maybe like an ability on the Pro controller, right? You plug into the Pro controller because if you're playing on Pro controller, you're probably not hand holding the system, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so like you could do something where like there's a specific time that you could get into like a voice chat, but the other thing that I think would associate with a game chat is you're probably looking at raising the price on
Yeah.
NSO.
That's where we get into that 450 territory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's I think it's going to be one of those things where it's a cost benefit analysis done by Nintendo, and I think if they got away with it without it on Nintendo Switch 1,
Yeah.
it'll probably be a feature that might be built into it with the assumption that if they get enough backlash without it, it'll be, oh, here's your update, now you have it, type of thing.
Sure. And it's funny. They already know that no one's expecting them to do that. They're like, why would we do that if everybody knows we suck at online connectivity? We're not going to go there and add $50 on top. We're going to build some weird gimmicky thing instead.
The final thing I'll say about that just actually popped into my head is also, without it, you avoid the Call of Duty chat spaces, right?
Yeah, which Nintendo would not want.
Right. Nintendo is still we are family friendly console. We're not these gamer bros. And so without allowing you to have these chats, you don't run across that, oh, this guy called me a bad word.
He's talking about my mom again.
Right.
Well, and it's funny you bring up Call of Duty too, because I'm not a COD player at all, but I know in that deal when there was the whole lawsuit going on at Microsoft, part of that agreement was, hey, no worries, I know we bought it, but it's going to be on every platform, and they mentioned Nintendo specifically. So
right.
I mean, who knows what that will look like? We'll get the Fortnite version of Call of Duty on Switch.
Yeah. or they just won't have the game chat. Like I play Mario Kart online, I play Smash Brothers online.
It works.
And I don't feel the need to have to communicate with the people that I'm playing with.
Yeah.
So
especially since I'd probably find out a 9-year-old is beating the crap out of me. So it's like, yeah, but get me on some triple triad, and I'll beat you up.
there you go too. So there you go. Like with a new kind of operating system, you could start teaming up with your old partners like Square and saying, hey, we want to bring your mini games as a mini game on Nintendo.
Oh
You know,
man.
I think that would
Oh
be,
man. Get some
you
Queen's
know, you were
blood in
saying Triple
here.
Triad. If we could get like a Queen's Blood version, I mean,
Yeah.
you can put these games on a mobile phone. You can put them on a Nintendo Switch, right? Like,
Absolutely. Oh man, do you know how much I would pay for a Queen's Blood and Triple Triad app? I'd pay
oh
full
man,
$60 for those.
that.
But so there's one more key feature we need to talk about, and that is this mystery C button on the right Joy-Con. So I'm going to pull up one more picture for everybody to look at. But yeah, take a little gander there, chat, on the right Joy-Con just below the home button. You've got this new. It looks just like the capture button on the left, and it's the C button. And everybody's kind of chattering about what this could possibly be. Let's center this, shall we? Um, I mean, there's so many ideas swirling around. Do you have any ideas about what this could be?
Yeah. So I mean, to be honest with you, C to me, you bring up a good word, capture. You know, I think there's probably going to be a way, like you know, like Xbox and PlayStation have now. You can capture your gameplay as you go along.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, my best guess would be that would be just a quick, hey, you can either set this up to start recording or you can set it up to record the last 30 to 60 seconds. I think that's probably what that button is, it would be my guess.
Okay, so it's is it going to be different then from the capture button that we already have on the left? You're saying it'll be more robust, like it'll capture more.
Yeah, I think it'll give you the options. And then they'll probably make the what used to be the capture button. I think that'll probably be um, like a quick access to your home screen type of thing.
Oh, okay, okay.
And so
Yeah.
it'll be one of those things where like you can, or maybe you can just like quick join a party if they do end up having like party chats and stuff on there.
Yeah.
But you know, I think the capture button, the C button, the best thing that I can think of would be because it's in kind of an awkward position, right? Like you're gonna
Definitely.
have to basically take your hands off that second joystick to hit that button. And so
Huh.
it makes it hard for me to believe that that's going to be something that's going to be integrated by a game in terms of gameplay, right?
Sure, it's more of a what am I looking for? Like quality of life or like a behind the scenes kind of feature.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Hmm.
think my best guess for it, and I don't know, I don't. This could be totally not on the mark at all, but I hear people talking about C being cast, like you can cast it
Mm.
to your TV without the dock, kind of a thing.
Okay,
I'm like
there you
that. I
go.
like that idea
That is a great idea,
because,
and one that I wouldn't have thought of. That is a fantastic thought. Absolutely.
and I wish I could take
'Cause
credit for it, but I heard it from somebody, and
well, I
but
heard it from you, so I'm going to give you credit for
I
it.
made it up. It was all me, and if it ends up being true, I gave the Nintendo the idea as well. But I started thinking about it though, and I thought, well, if I have a dock, what's the point? And I thought, if I'm traveling to my friend's house in Japan, I'm not going to haul my dock with me. But you better believe I can stream it to my hotel TV, his
Yeah.
TV, without my dock around.
That so now the one thing that I think Nintendo did in the travel wise was they originally came out with like that little tiny case, right?
Yeah,
But I think they realized that a lot of people wherever they went wanted to play it in the dock as opposed to handheld, so they came out with like a bigger case that fit the dock and everything in there. Uh, so it just having like a cast button, I think solves that issue right away,
that'd be
and
crazy.
now you've totally convinced me that that's what that's for. You
Cast
know,
button. I honestly don't know
absolutely.
what
I
else
think
it
that's
could
a great
be.
idea.
Or camera. I hear people saying camera, but maybe there's a hidden
Okay,
camera in the bevel of the screen or something, but who knows?
sure. Or maybe that's how you get to like picture mode now as you hit that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I kind of hope it's something kind of bigger than just like, oh, like here's an extra little thing that we've kind of seen before. I hope it's something special, right?
Yeah, yeah. The capture system better have an ability to capture like 5 minutes. Yeah, see that's what I was thinking, John. Yeah.
Because the
Hmm.
first one could only capture a max of 30 seconds, I believe.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Well, any other surprises that you're thinking might happen? I'll throw mine out first. Street Pass. I think I saw Craig Stratton, super fan in the chat earlier, saying Street Pass. I thought the same thing. Bring back Street Pass from the 3DS. That was so much fun. I don't know if you're familiar with 3DS and Street Pass? Because I know you said you weren't into DS, but
Yeah, the DS was like the one console that like I never really played. So I don't know much about it, but it is definitely something that I have heard of. So
dude, it was so
if I've
fun.
heard of it, it's definitely got a fan base out there for sure.
Yeah, essentially, and for those in the chat that aren't familiar with it, essentially, obviously the 3DS, you were encouraged to take it with you everywhere in your pocket, and it would use close quarters NFC to like anytime you passed someone else with a 3DS within like a 50-foot range, it would exchange like these little puzzle pieces that you could then import and try and complete these puzzles. It would give you little prizes like certain games. If developers took advantage of it, it would like when I was playing Fire Emblem Awakening, which is one of my favorite games of all time. If you would get a Street Pass hit, it would add new like side levels onto your world map, like side quests and stuff that you could go do, and you could fight their team and stuff like that. So
That's cool. That's very cool.
it was so exciting going to like Comic Con or something and coming home and pulling out the DS, and it had a little green flashing light that was like, you got Street Passes, and you'd open it up. It's like, here's 400 Mii's that you have to meet, and they're going to give you all these presents. And like, it was really fun.
Okay,
So,
yeah, shoot, man. I'd be down to see something like that, or some some easier way to to connect with other Nintendo players for sure. Like
yeah.
it's one of those things where, I mean, and it seems kind of like a no-brainer, right? Because you for years you've had the link cables, and it's like, well, I mean, everything has Bluetooth now. How come we need this cable to connect? Like, why can't we just Bluetooth between each other, right?
Right.
And so
Exactly.
it seems like that would be, something that that it would be beneficial.
Yeah. One way or another, that C button better have something to do with connecting with others. I like how you said that, like connecting with people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so yeah.
Um,
Any other gimmicks that you're thinking we might, or surprises of any kind?
So now kind of going back to you were asking, do I think they're going to have like two cartridge holes, so to speak, for the Nintendo 1, Nintendo 2. I don't While I don't think they'll have that, I wouldn't be surprised if they do have two SD card holders this time.
Oh wow, that would be
And that way you
cool.
don't have to keep going back and like taking it out and putting a new one in when you run out of space.
That's a good
I
one.
think I think there's enough now out there that people are so used to doing digital download games
Yeah,
that I think they realize that they probably need more space.
yeah, yeah,
And so being limited to the 256 on the Nintendo Switch I think they'll lift that to at least 512, if not a terabyte.
oh, that'd be so
But I
cool.
wouldn't be surprised if they have two slots for SD cards instead of just the one.
Man, I had not thought of that at all. I love that. If that happens, that would be hype.
Mm.
Nintendo, we all know Nintendo. They're so good at optimization, and like their files are always tiny. That new
Hmm.
Xenoblade Chronicles X port from the Wii U is like they got that down to like 14 gigs or something. Like,
Yeah, like it's so small.
but then you have
And
people that
then
just don't care at all. You get like your Witcher 4 or Witcher 3 or whatever, and it's like, oh, this is like half your memory card, you know?
Right, right. And that's, you could also think about it as if you really want this to be a family console, now because you have the two SD cards, you have brother and sister SD card, right?
Oh,
You
that's
don't have to,
cool.
and so you don't have to worry about going on there and sister's mad because, oh, Johnny was playing this and now I can't find this and vice versa, right? Oh, I don't want to
Yeah.
play Super Princess 2, like why does this got to show up on my OS?
Yeah.
So now you have the two. You
It's
can
making my
separate
home
them.
screen look like a girl.
Right, right, yeah.
That C button toggles between SD cards. How about
There you go.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. Shoot, man. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Anything else you got for me as far as surprises go?
Uh, I mean, I think
That's
that's
kind of all
really
I
about
had.
it right now.
Yeah,
Um,
that's kind of all I
I'm
could
trying to
think of.
think of, I'm trying to think of if there's any games that I would be actually surprised with. But the truth is, like, I'm pretty sure they're gonna have their staples. I think they're gonna bring some back. Maybe a new
Oh
Battletoads.
man, Battletoads,
You
classic,
know.
classic.
Maybe a Tactics, an Ogre Tactics 2. simply because they had the remastered version. Maybe they're trying to,
That's right.
garnish some sort of to see if they still have like a tactical games audience type of thing.
That's true because
Um,
they did the Mario and Rabbids did pretty well for the Switch
mhm.
early on. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Mhm. Advance
yeah.
Wars remake. Yeah, John, shoot, man.
Oh yeah, that's true because they remade 1 and 2. But where's Advance
Hmm.
Wars 3? That would be pretty sick.
Yeah. Some random games that like I would like to see. I would like to see a Base Wars. I don't know if you guys remember that from
Base
like the
Wars.
regular
Uh-uh.
Nintendo,
I
but
don't. I don't. I'm not
you
familiar
were
with
these
that.
robot baseball games, and so like every time it would be cool because like every time say you're going to second base and like the ball gets there before you do, you could still go, and then you'd go to like a fight scene and you could win the battle and you'd be safe, right? Like there'd be
What?
no
That's
no tag
awesome.
outs and stuff like that. Like but they had different kind of robots that you could play as. I thought it was a really great game that just kind of never went anywhere.
That sounds so Nintendo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Phantom Pain, I'm with you. I want new theme and layouts too. The whole
Mhm.
generation. I'm an OCD kind of. I like to organize things. My 3DS menu, with they got the folders and the little toys you could put around the screen and different songs. I was waiting for that this whole generation. So I'm with you,
Mhm.
Phantom. That would be amazing. Well, we're kind of winding down here, but any other last random thoughts that you had that we haven't hit on yet?
I think we covered quite a lot.
We covered a lot of ground tonight.
Now okay, so the one thing that I guess we didn't talk about was they have like I don't know if they're like grip pads or something, but I have seen a couple of leaked commercials or commercials stuff on Twitter where there was like these two extra. It wasn't just the joysticks. It wasn't just the Joy Cons, right? But there was also these like little bumps that it seems like they were there for grips, which kind of
Yeah.
makes me think that they're kind of going back and this would be great for like a Star Fox game or like a flight simulator game where you just have the grips so you can move the Switch around. Um, I will say that I do like the idea that it's slightly bigger. I still don't know if it's going to make me do handheld anymore,
Do you
but
not play much handheld?
I don't. I hardly play handheld at all, to be
Oh,
honest with
okay.
you.
Okay.
It mostly because I'm an old man and I feel like my eyesight's not great, and so
And my hands cramp up. I'm like, ah.
yeah, like the old screen, like I'm just like I'm like right next to it, going, oh, like, what are we looking at?
I've always got my
Um,
glasses on standby. Yeah, I'm going blind as well, which I should probably have been wearing them this whole time. But I did see that leak though, and it reminds me of a patent that Nintendo filed a couple years ago that had removable D-pad section of the Joy-Con,
mm,
and you could plug in a 4-button one like the current Switch, or an
yeah,
actual D-pad, or
yeah.
interchangeable parts would be really cool. Yeah.
I think so too. I think so too. I do love the fact that it looks like it's going to be a magnet for the Joy Cons instead of the slide.
I'm so curious
My
how
uh,
that'll feel.
my son loves to kind of try and pull the things, and so it's like if it just snaps off as opposed to like him ripping it off, I think that would be great for me.
And that is actually fascinating to think about because when kind of going back to what we were talking about at the beginning, when the Switch One launched, my kids were like your son's age. They were like little, and now they're tweens. And so, is it weird for
Yeah,
you
shoot.
thinking that the Switch Two is going to be probably the console that he kind of learns to play games on? Maybe.
I think so. So he we it is just because it's impossible to keep him away from it. But he somehow manages to always find our phone, right? And he's always, pushing buttons and stuff on the phone. So I think it would be a natural gravitas towards the Nintendo Switch and say, hey,
Yeah.
buddy, this is how you hold it. This is how you play.
Welcome to the
And
show.
again, because Nintendo is more family friendly than like an Xbox or a PlayStation, I'd rather him jump onto a Donkey Kong game than like somehow get into like Sekiro and all of a sudden blood's just going everywhere and he's murdering everything in front of him.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that really was what the Switch One became for me. Is I have a photo. I wish I would have grabbed it, thought to grab it before we did this, so I could share it. But it's me booting up Breath of the Wild, probably like day 2 or 3 of the Switch, and they're all, like in their diapers, sitting on the floor, like watching it. And here we are now, where they have their own Switches, and they really, they can beat me in Smash. Like they
Yeah.
really grew up, and it became our thing, and it was really quite
Mm.
special.
And that's I hope I get that with my son as well. Like, am I going to be embarrassed when he beats me for the first time ever? Yes, absolutely. But I feel it'll be like a proud father moment, right? Yeah.
Exactly, it totally is. And yeah, now my son, who's John's, like, you wouldn't want your kid playing Doom. He's actually
Yeah.
really in. I love Doom, and my son sees me playing it, and he's like, "Oh, what's that?" Like he's starting to get into stuff like that a little bit, and it is kind of funny to see which
Yeah.
games they gravitate to. My oldest daughter's
Mm.
way into the life sims. She loves like the Animal Crossings. My son
Okay.
loves the puzzle games. Like, it's interesting to see them take on their own gaming personalities and stuff.
Mm.
But
That's great. Yeah, my wife loves The Sims. That's
yeah,
like her game. That it's so weird. The Sims and Destiny, like those are her two games, and I'm like, they don't have anything in common. What, like,
and you say Destiny?
yeah, Destiny. Yeah.
My wife's is Doctor. She's not a gamer like by any means, but she loves Doctor Mario. She'll play Doctor Mario till the cows come
Okay.
home.
Yeah. Oh shoot. There's another one that you could do like a remaster of. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. They haven't
that'd be
really
great.
touched that for a while. So
Yeah, I think they had what like Super Doctor Mario or something like that. But yeah.
yeah, I think
Hmm.
he might have been on the 64 as well. But it's been a minute. It's
Hmm.
been a minute.
Yeah.
Well, that is awesome. I don't know about you, but I know I was like at a 9 before, but like after talking it all out with you and just kind of thinking of it through a little more carefully, if this is this Thursday, like I think I'm at a 10 out of 10 as well of hype. Like this
Yeah,
is
you might have actually put me into like an 11, right? We're
yes.
we're at a this is Spinal Tap type of thing,
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love if anyone in the chat knows that reference, you get 10 points. Yeah, man, it really
Why not
is.
just make 10 louder?
But
But this
this
goes
goes
to
up to
11.
11. I have a shirt that says that has a volume knob and it goes up to 11 on it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Well, that is awesome, man. Any final thoughts before we potentially see within maybe 72 hours what this thing's gonna be?
I'm just ready for it, to be honest with you. Like and I know in this day and age, it's like impossible to stay away from leaks, no matter how hard you try. You have to basically cut yourself off from interacting with anybody and everything.
Yeah,
And so I'm just ready for it. There's enough going out. I think Nintendo has to get onto it. Otherwise, I think the hype that's coming out with these leaks is going to die off, and I think they need to do something ASAP. Mm.
I agree, and I think the whole internet agrees. It's like the leaks are unfortunate, and I think if it doesn't end up being Thursday, I think that's a problem because
Mm.
the hype. You're right. Every day that they don't show us this thing, the hype and the speculation is building expectations unrealistically, and
Right.
it's more stuff's gonna leak out until finally we're seeing software and everything. So they just got to get it done.
Hmm. Absolutely. I 100% agree.
They got to show us Final
Because
Fantasy 9. Got to show us FF9 remake, please. Even though it's not even a
yeah, yeah,
Nintendo
yeah,
game.
yeah. Hey, I'd be right there with you, my man. Day one purchase for sure.
Oh man.
Probably a pre-order in my
Oh, for
opinion.
sure. I'm getting their
Yeah.
$300 special edition. Comes with,
With
yeah.
the little statue of Zidane. Yeah.
Oh,
No, that'd be
all of
awesome.
it. It's happening. Well, tell us one more time where we can find you, what you're up to on YouTube, so that anybody else that didn't hear it the first can go and subscribe to right now.
Yeah, no problem. So again, my name is Christopher. Whatever you feel like calling me, I've been called worse. You can find me right here on YouTube at BigSweetC. Wednesdays through Saturdays, I do live streams starting at about 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm on the west coast of the United States, so if that's any better. Right now we're playing a lot of RPGs. So Octopath Traveler 2 on Wednesdays, Final Fantasy 8 on Thursdays, Sekiro on Fridays, and Borderlands 1 on Saturdays. You guys want to come by? I love chit chatting with everybody. I consider myself one of the more lively chat discussion types because I don't hold back. I held back a little bit on this one because I know I know Kobe's a little more family friendly than I am, but I talk about everything on my channel. So if you got a question, feel free to come by and ask.
Appreciate it. Everybody go subscribe if you haven't already. Man, really appreciate you being here. It was a little bit short notice. We kind of threw it together in about a week, but dude, it was a party. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, I had a great time. I want to thank you for inviting me. I not gonna lie, I was a little bit nervous because we hadn't really spoken before. Like talked actual live to live. Um, but I mean, as soon as I popped in and you started talking and things got going, I knew it was gonna be a good time. So thank you for having me on.
Dude, absolutely. And of course, you can reach out if you need anything at all. Everybody, his links are down in the description. You can find his channel and everything you need to down there. Join my Discord if you haven't. Everybody in the chat, the links for that is down there as well. It's called Nostalgia Nation. So we just talk all things nostalgia, like we have tonight. So appreciate all you guys for tuning in. I see Mr. Beans, esteemed Mr. Beans, our super fan Jason. You guys are all still hanging out in the chat. Appreciate y'all being here, and I will be streaming again on Wednesday. We're going back to Ocarina of Time 3D on Wednesday. And just as a reminder, I will be out of town this Friday, so the Friday stream won't be happening. But otherwise, we will talk to you guys next time. And thanks again, Chris.
Thank you, man. Good night,
Appreciate it.
everybody.
See ya.